Dolly Zine is something that I've wanted to create for like the longest time. It's a zine dedicated to challenging the world that we live in. Issue 1 is literally like full of artists opening up conversations and challenging the norms that patriarchal society has created. It is a project that I'm proud of, and it is a project that so many other people should be proud of. The amount of work that has gone in is amazing, and the artists who feature in Dolly Issue 1 are amazing, and it excites me how much talent there is, and it excites me about the future of the music scene and the art scene. I can't wait to share it, and it's basically just a big fuck you to society's norms. I've had a few interviews with some of the artists that are featuring in Dolly as just a way for people to find out like a bit more about what Dolly's about and what will be coming in Issue 1.
What is Dolly Zine?
Dolly Zine is a zine that looks at the equality of genders, but the overall concept of Dolly Zine is to challenge things in society, like through art. I want to use art through Dolly, through other people submitting, to challenge things such as the patriarchy and the negative effects it has on everybody.
Why did you want to create Dolly Zine?
I've always felt passionate about making zines. It's something I've always wanted to do. In the last lockdown, I started thinking and planning a zine, and I had a few ideas, but I wasn't really sure. But then when I came back to my foundation course and started working again, I got a lot more ideas and like about who I was as an artist. And as an artist, I'm someone who wants to look at challenging society, and I just thought it would be a great idea to create a zine that allowed not just me but a lot of artists up and down the country to challenge society, and then for people to have access to this zine that is so powerful.
You've been saying that you've wanted to do this for so long, like that you've wanted to do some sort of zine or something, and then like actually seeing you kind of like start it and say like, right, I'm making my little Instagram account, I'm gonna be called Dolly Zine, and like seeing that, and then like seeing like the submission post, and I was like, well, I definitely want to get involved in this.
Bit of everything, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw it come up, I was like, that looks like an absolute vibe. Like it looked cool, it looked like the sort of thing.
Oh well, I'm pleased it had that effect on you.
It was like straight away, it was like, that is really cool.
It just gave me a sense of nostalgia that I shouldn't have, but I felt like I felt like a sense of belonging. Like, it's that sort of thing that I've been raised with. Like, my mum always being a soul learner, and she always taught me that this and this, and I think like it's important that like we do ignite like a 4th and 5th wave feminism sort of culture.
I think it's when I was reading your bio and I saw that you said empowerment for all, and I just feel like that's so important. Like, I think that actually kind of helped my own, like the piece that I submitted. It kind of inspired me thinking like, you know, equality and empowerment should not be like exclusionary to anyone. It should be about, feminism should be about equality for all, and it should be about empowerment for all. And I just think it's really important that, you know, you're doing like a zine that is dealing with important issues, but it's like accessible.
How has Dolly Zine been made?
Dolly Zine is handmade, so there is one like raw version where I've literally cut up everything, stuck it down with a glue stick, painted it, like everything is individual.
Very DIY.
Yeah, Riot Girl is such an influence of mine, and Riot Girl, it's just that sort of style. My sort of style bounces off that because it's such an influence. I just wanted it to be in my style. I mean, there's refinement and everything in InDesign, but the main parts of it are made by hand, which is time consuming, but I think it gives it the effect that I want it to.
Why did you want to make it like that?
I wanted to make it like that because I feel like handmade things are very personal. I wanted it to be DIY because that's my style, but I do just think like things that are handmade, like the time that's going into it, like it'll just make all the difference.
It's got quite a lot of punk spirit about it, and I love that in something, because I think there's too much regulation, I think. I feel like there's too much, this is how stuff's got to be done, and I feel like that sort of went against that. I was like, I'm gonna do, you know, this zine is what I want it to be.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to have sort of like gateways for young artists in like local areas to put their art out there, because sure, there are like art galleries everywhere, there are like magazines, there are like so many platforms to put your art on, but it's like actually getting that seen in a useful way, if that makes sense. Because it, like, let's face it, if you're like a young art student who like is just starting out, your work's not gonna go in like the fucking Baltic, is it? Like, it's just not. It's like, so it's nice to have like a little zine where everybody can contribute, and it just feels really, it's like you're going to be accepted whatever you put in there.
What is the theme of issue 1?
So the theme of issue 1 is looking into the empowerment of all genders and challenging like gender stereotypes in society. For instance, boys don't cry. Like, how many times have you heard someone being told to man up? It's just things like that in society that are so prevalent, but like they shouldn't be. It's so wrong. I just think there's so many like issues that need to be addressed, and I think a lot of us know that they need to be addressed, but it's just the fact that they're still so prevalent in society, which it just makes it so like it's just so uncomfortable, and it just shouldn't be happening.
When the theme came out, I was like, this is so relevant to my work that I actually can get involved now.
I wanted to be more conceptual within my work, so obviously I chose to like look at sexism within the music industry, and I saw the post and I was like, yeah, this really fits in with like the stuff I'm doing. And it's like, I'm only really starting out as an artist. I don't really know who I am yet. Well, the theme was really interesting to us because I was already doing something linked to it within my project. So I thought it was an ideal time to push my work into something so everyone could see it. And I was also really inspired by the amount of people that I saw working as a team and stuff. So I think a collection of young people trying to push ideas is really important, and that's kind of what made us want to be part of the first edition. So
would you class Dolly as a feminist zine?
Dolly is definitely a feminist zine. I think a lot of people forget feminism isn't just about women, it's like everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, like feminism is there for everyone. Patriarchy, it doesn't just negatively impact women, it negatively impacts the whole of society on so many levels, and that's why I think it's so important to like challenge it, and as I said, like challenge things in society through this zine.
There's the whole, I think people have it in their minds that feminism is that whole third wave shit about how poor men should die, and you know, like men are trash, like we don't need men. And I'm like, no, men are great, but we're also great too. I think that's the whole point, and it's taken the world a long fucking time to get to grips with that. Like we haven't had that appreciation of like how powerful and important we are in like just the way the fucking world works.
I think that people often forget that living in a patriarchal society, it actually is really detrimental to everyone, including men. I think because when you live in a world that has like such a rigid kind of like dichotomy of gender roles, it forces people to conform to specific like qualities that like define femininity or like masculinity. And it's like, just as women are confined and unable to act in certain ways because they're like, they fear judgment, like men are also confined like to behave in a certain way, otherwise they won't be seen as like manly enough.
Intersectionalism is more important to me than feminism. I think feminism often gets a bad rep, and it's always white women seem to be the face of feminism, and I always see that everywhere. But to me, if you look at the likes of Lauryn Hill and Erykah Badu, and even like Destiny's Child from like the 90s, when like the third wave feminism first came about, like that was black women, they did lead third wave feminism, and I still do believe that. And I think it was so ignored in second wave that, to me, I think it's about equality of race and gender, not just gender, and I don't think we can define it by saying, oh, it has to be equal between men and women, it has to be equal between men, women, Asian women, black women, like every race there is.
I think I see myself as a feminist. I get it off my mum, because I grew up with my mum, and like a strong woman as a role model.
There's so many talented artists in it. The response I had to the first issue has been amazing.
Like, as a white man, you can do anything you want, and you might as well, like, use it for good. Do useful things that actually help people instead of just, I don't know, being a dick.
Growing up and stuff, it was very much a thing. I'd get teased a lot for, you know, being that one lass with like trousers on, or being, you know, just that, those kind of things. Like, I know clothing has no gender, like that's definitely 100% true, like more now than ever. I think it's changed a lot recently. But when I took the shoot, it was first of all intrigue, because of my current situation. I wanted to see my significant other, you know, embrace his feminine side, as well as, you know, me exploring more of my masculine side.
Because there's loads of really negative stereotypes around what type of clothing everyone should be wearing, which shouldn't be a thing. So I wanted to focus on kind of breaking that mentality against it. Many people, I think, have the mindset of like, it doesn't have anything to do with me, so I'm just not going to bother with it. But by addressing these problems, like within art and like within things that you see every day, like we're starting those conversations and we're like provoking people to be like, yeah, this needs to change.
No matter what media it is or what art it is, there should always be a sense of education within that. And you take it as your own. You can pick and choose what you want to take from that artwork, which means you're educating yourself, but you're educating yourself by your own means, you know. It's, again, as I said before, it's subjective.
Art offers a different way of looking at the world. I think it's definitely important to give people a different way of looking at things and something, different things to interpret.
If people start to try and like break down those barriers with something as simple as like a guy holding some flowers and like having some makeup on, it's like breaking down those internal stigmas that you have about like gender and gender roles. And like, sure, it is just like a guy putting on some makeup and like having like flowers all around him and stuff like that, but it's like, at the end of the day, that's like one little step that's gonna sort of subconsciously make people see that more as the norm. Do you know what I mean? Sort of like breaking down these barriers.
How would you say this COVID's affected your plans for Dolly?
COVID has wrecked my plans for Dolly, basically. Dolly was meant to come out on the 20th of January. Because of the new lockdown, it's just not possible. Because it's handmade, I needed to scan in each of my pages. I don't have a scanner at home, so I was using the facilities I had at college to scan them in, to then edit them and put the zine together in an InDesign document. I then ordered myself some nice paper. I've got a box of it in the corner that's not getting used, and I was going to use the printing facilities at my college to print it in the format that I wanted. There's so many companies out there that I could have gone through, but again, like, the thought of me hand making it and putting it together, like, was just something that I wanted to do.
That personal touch.
I just wanted it to have a personal touch. Obviously, with the lockdown, I can't go into college, I can't print it, I can't scan pages in, which is a shame, but it's ready. Like, for when lockdown lifts and I can get back, I'll have it out within a week. All the handmade bits are done, so I just need to put it together, and I've already planned that out, so it should be a fairly quick process. As well, there was meant to be the Dolly exhibition. That is still going to happen, just not in the time that I wanted to. It was meant to go up on the 11th of January, obviously because of lockdown that's not happening, and it was meant to be a digital event. Did originally want it to be a physical event, but can't be the case because of coronavirus. Couldn't get in to put the exhibition up because of lockdown, couldn't film it because of lockdown, but hopefully I've got my fingers crossed that I'll be able to do it later down the line, and if things have got better, we can still go in and film, but it may also have a slight chance of being able to invite people to come and see it, depending on how things change. You never know these days.
Imagine how boring life would be if you weren't going to fucking challenge anyone in society. I think that's the whole point. If you don't challenge it, then nothing's going to change about it.